Ben Carter stood before the mirror and adjusted the collar of his ceremonial uniform for the third time. Not because it needed adjusting, because it gave his hands something to do. Outside the room, thousands of guests were gathering. Across Earth and half the known galaxy, billions were watching live broadcasts. Historians were already calling this the most important diplomatic event in human history. Today, Ben Carter would marry an alien princess. And with that marriage, the future of Earth would be rewritten. His reflection stared back at him from the polished glass. 27 years old. Clean-cut. Calm. Ordinary. At least, that's what everyone was supposed to believe. The door slid open behind him. Ben didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "You're still overthinking." His mother's voice carried the familiar mix of authority and affection that had followed him his entire life. Ambassador Kate Morrison stepped into the room. The architect of the treaty. The woman who had spent 2 exhausting years negotiating with the Valoran Empire. Tonight, she looked less like Earth's most accomplished diplomat and more like a mother trying desperately not to worry. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavier than any conversation. Finally, Kate crossed the room and stood beside him. "You don't have to do this, Ben." Her voice was quiet. Almost fragile. "We can find another volunteer." Ben met her eyes through the mirror. Then he smiled. A small smile. The kind that rarely appeared when he was nervous. "No?" He shook his head. "I chose this." Kate looked away. "If this treaty succeeds, Earth gains peace." Ben's expression hardened slightly. "And if it doesn't?" Neither answered. Both already knew. The Valoran Empire controlled hundreds of worlds. Their fleets could erase civilizations. Officially, this marriage was a symbol of friendship. Unofficially, it was the price of survival. "If marrying a princess keeps Earth safe," Ben continued, "then it's worth it." For a brief second, emotion cracked the diplomat's mask. Kate's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Diplomats didn't cry. Not on days like this. Not when entire worlds were watching. "The Valorans think we're weak," she said quietly. "They think humanity is a young species that stumbled into interstellar space through luck and stubbornness." Ben laughed softly. "That's because we've worked very hard to make them think that." A dangerous silence settled between them. Kate looked toward the sealed walls, instinctively checking that nobody else could hear. There were things neither of them could say aloud. Not here. Not anywhere inside the palace. The program. The hidden fleets. The secrets buried beneath centuries of careful diplomacy. The galaxy believed humanity was harmless. A convenient little species from an insignificant world. And for the moment, humanity intended to keep it that way. Ben straightened his uniform one final time. Outside, the music of the royal ceremony began to echo through the corridors. The wedding was about to start. Across the stars, billions expected to witness the union of a human diplomat and a powerful alien princess. What none of them realized was that this marriage wasn't just a political alliance. It was the moment 2 civilizations unknowingly stepped onto a path that would change the balance of power in the entire galaxy, where Valoran listening devices probably hid in every wall. The wedding would take place in the Grand Hall of Valoria Prime, the capital planet of an empire that stretched across 300 star systems. Earth controlled only one. The math was simple. Humanity needed allies, or at least needed to avoid enemies. Ben walked through the palace corridors toward the ceremony. Valoran guards lined the walls, tall and elegant with their silver skin and triple-jointed limbs. They looked at him with barely hidden contempt. To them, he was short and thick and clumsy. His species had only discovered faster than light travel 15 years ago. The Valorans had crossed the stars for 10,000 years. Princess Sira of House Vorus waited at the altar. She was beautiful by any standard, with flowing robes that shifted colors in the light. Her face remained expressionless as Ben approached. They had met only twice before this day. Both meetings had been formal and cold. The ceremony began with words in the Valoran language. Ben had learned enough to understand. The Emperor Theron spoke about unity between species and a new era of cooperation. The words sounded pretty, But Ben noticed things others might miss. His enhanced hearing picked up whispered conversations among the guards. He caught fragments of phrases. After the signing, when the fleet moves, the human worlds will never see it coming. Ben's heartbeat remained steady. He had expected this. Earth had expected this. The vows were exchanged. Sir's voice was clear, but emotionless. Ben spoke his lines with what appeared to be nervous sincerity. He played his part well. Let them think him a simple, scared young man caught in events beyond his understanding. When the ceremony ended, the celebration began. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of species filled the hall. Most of them looked at Ben with curiosity or pity. One human marrying into the royal family was seen as humanity accepting its place at the bottom of the galactic order. Jake Morrison, Ben's cousin, stood among the human delegation. He was officially a junior attaché, but Ben knew his real job: intelligence gathering. Their eyes met briefly across the room, and Jake gave the smallest nod. He had heard the whispers too. Sarah sat beside Ben at the head table, maintaining proper distance. During a quiet moment, she spoke without looking at him. "You seem calm for someone who just married a stranger," she said in perfect English. "I'm good at staying calm," Ben replied. "Are you afraid? Should I be?" Sarah finally turned to look at him directly. Her eyes were golden, unsettling in their alienness. "My father believes your species will accept any terms to avoid conflict. He believes humans value peace above all else." "And what do you believe?" Ben asked. For a moment, something flickered in her expression. Doubt, perhaps, or curiosity. "I believe we don't know anything about your species. You appeared in the galaxy suddenly with technology you shouldn't have developed so quickly. That makes you either very lucky or very dangerous. Maybe both," Ben said with a slight smile. A Valoran noble, Lord Kale, approached their table. He bowed to Sir, but barely acknowledged Ben. "Princess, the Emperor requests your presence in the War Council chamber after the celebration," Kale said. Ben's enhanced hearing caught the emphasis on War Council. His expression didn't change, but he filed the information away. "War Council?" Ben asked innocently. "I thought this was a peace treaty," Kale sneered. "Strategic planning, human. Concepts beyond your understanding." Sarah shot Kale a sharp look. "That will be all, Lord Kale." When Kale left, Sarah spoke quietly. "He's crude, but his contempt is shared by many in my father's court. They see this marriage as a humiliation for me." "And how do you see it?" Ben asked. Sir was quiet for a long moment. "I see it as duty, nothing more." The celebration continued for hours. Ben played his role perfectly, appearing slightly overwhelmed and out of place. He stumbled over some Valoran customs, apologized too much, and generally reinforced the image of humans as well-meaning, but inferior. But all the while, he watched and listened. He counted the guards and noted their positions. He observed which nobles spoke to which military officers. He saw how the Valorian fleet commanders clustered together, sharing looks that suggested shared secrets. Dr. Helen Brooks, Earth's xenobiologist, managed to approach Ben during the reception. She pretended to adjust his ceremonial sash while whispering quickly. Embassy picked up increased military communications. 3 Valoran fleets moved to staging positions near human space. Timeline unknown. "Understood," Ben whispered back, then smiled broadly, as if she had told him a joke. As the night wore on, Sir's demeanor shifted slightly. She watched Ben with growing curiosity. He had handled himself better than she expected. His Valoran was rough but functional. His bearing was dignified despite the obvious discomfort of being the only human in a room full of aliens. "You're not what I expected," she finally said. "What did you expect?" "Someone more intimidated. The reports said humans are emotional and easily frightened." Ben met her golden eyes directly. "Reports can be wrong." Something in his voice made her pause. For just a second, she saw something beneath his careful mask. Something that made her wonder if her father's intelligence on humans was as complete as everyone believed. The celebration finally ended near midnight Valoran time. Ben and Sir were escorted to the royal wing of the palace where their chambers waited. By tradition, they would share quarters. Now, though the rooms were large enough for privacy, as they walked through the corridors, Ben noticed the guard positions again. New faces, new weapons, more than ceremonial in their chambers. Sir turned to him. "You seem to notice everything. Most humans I've observed appear overwhelmed by Valoria Prime. I pay attention," Ben said simply. "Why do I feel like you're not telling me something?" Ben looked at her carefully. This was a dangerous moment. Too much truth too soon could ruin everything. Too little might make her dismiss him entirely. "Princess," he said slowly, "what do you know about Earth?" "It's a Class M planet. Standard oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere. Single moon, one star. Unremarkable." "Did your briefings mention the gravity?" Sarah frowned. "Why would that matter?" Ben smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Maybe it doesn't. Good night, Princess." "No. 19. He left her standing there, puzzled and uncertain. Outside, Valoran moons lit the alien sky. Somewhere in the darkness, fleets prepared for war. And Ben Carter, the human who seemed so ordinary, began counting down the hours until the game truly began. 3 months had passed since the wedding, and Ben had settled into a routine that fooled almost everyone. He woke early, ate breakfast with Sarah when protocol demanded, attended cultural lessons, and played the part of the curious but harmless human. But at night, when the palace slept, he worked. The Valorian palace was enormous, with sections dating back thousands of years. Ben had mapped 70% of it, memorizing guard rotations, security systems, and restricted areas. His enhanced memory absorbed every detail like a computer. Tonight, he moved through the shadows of the East Wing. His steps made no sound. His breathing was controlled and quiet. These were skills the Valorans didn't know humans possessed. The restricted archives lay behind a security door that required genetic authentication. Ben had watched Lord Kale enter 3 days ago and memorized the entry sequence. Valoran security relied too heavily on biology and not enough on the possibility that someone might be watching. He slipped inside using a copied genetic sample from a servant's cup. The archives were dark and filled with data crystals that stored information in formats. Earth was still learning to read, but Ben didn't need to read them all. He only needed to find specific files. His fingers moved across the terminal with practiced ease. Military deployment schedules, fleet positions, resource allocation, and there, buried in encrypted files, the invasion timeline, 60 days. The Valorans would move against Earth and its colonies in 60 days. "I thought I might find you here." Ben spun around. Sarah stood in the doorway, still wearing her sleeping robes. Her golden eyes reflected the dim light from the terminal. His mind raced through options. Deny everything, claim ignorance, attack, and escape. But something in her expression stopped him. "How long have you known," he asked quietly, "that you're more than you pretend to be?" "Since the 2nd week," Sarah said. She stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. "You think you're being subtle, but I've been trained to observe since childhood. You move too carefully. You notice things you shouldn't. You never appear truly tired even after long state functions." Ben said nothing, waiting. "I should report you," S continued. "You're clearly a spy. This would give my father grounds to void the treaty and seize human assets." "But you haven't reported me," Ben said. "No, because I want to know what you've discovered." "What are you looking at?" Ben made a decision. It was a gamble, but his instincts about Sarah had been developing over 3 months. She was intelligent, and more importantly, she seemed to have her own doubts about her father's plans. He turned the terminal screen toward her. "Your father's invasion plans. 60 days from now, 3 Valoran fleets will jump into human space. The goal is complete annexation of all human worlds." Sarah's face went pale. "That's impossible. This marriage was for peace. This marriage was for distraction," Ben said. "While Earth focused on ceremonies and cultural exchange, your father positioned his military. We were meant to be grateful for acceptance into the galactic community. Instead, we're being set up for conquest. If you knew, why come? Why go through with the marriage?" "Because Earth needed time, and we needed information." Ben paused. "A negation. Because I volunteered." Sarah moved closer to the terminal, reading the files with growing horror. Her hands trembled slightly. "He told the council this was about unity. He told me this was about bringing humans into civilization." "Did you believe him?" Ben asked. "I wanted to," she admitted. "But I've seen the weapons shipments, the troop movements. I told myself it was standard military preparation." She looked up at Ben. "Why are you telling me this? I could still report you." "You could," Ben agreed. "But you won't. Because you're not like Lord Kale or the others. You actually care about doing what's right." Sierra laughed bitterly. "You barely know me. I've spent 3 months watching you. You're kind to servants. You question unjust decisions. You read philosophy from species your father considers inferior. You're not who they want you to be. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Finally, Sarah spoke. What are you, Ben Carter? Really? Ben took a breath. This was the moment of complete truth, or complete deception. He chose truth. I'm from a program Earth started 20 years ago, after our first contact with other species. We realized that humans evolved differently than most galactic species. Our planet was harder, more dangerous. We had to be stronger, faster, more adaptable, just to survive. What do you mean? Ben walked to a nearby storage shelf and picked up a ceremonial weight, a solid piece of Valoran steel, used in traditional strength displays. It weighed approximately 50 pounds. Valoran nobles often struggled to lift it with both hands. Ben crushed it with one hand. The metal crumpled like paper, the sound echoing in the quiet archive. Sir took a step back, her eyes wide. That's impossible, she whispered. For Valorans, yes. Your people evolved on a peaceful world with 0.6 gravity. Everything about your biology is optimized for your environment. Beautiful, efficient, civilized. Ben set down the crushed metal. Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Higher gravity, extreme weather, predators that hunted in packs, diseases that killed millions. We developed redundant systems, explosive strength, endurance that seems impossible to species from gentler worlds. How strong are you compared to Valorans? 3 to 4 times stronger, faster reflexes, better pattern recognition, higher pain tolerance. Our bones are denser, our healing is faster. We can survive injuries that would kill most species. Sarah sank into a nearby chair, processing this information. And your government created a program to enhance these traits. To optimize them, Ben corrected. Everything I can do is within human capability. We just learned to push the limits. Your father's intelligence knows humans are different, but they don't understand how different. They think our technology is our only advantage. Why hide it? Because fear makes people irrational. If the galaxy knew what humans could really do, they'd unite against us. But if they underestimate us, Ben trailed off. You can prepare, Sarah finished. You can be ready for the attack. We've been ready since the treaty negotiations began. Earth's military has been preparing for this exact scenario. We just needed to know when and where. Sarah stood up suddenly. I need to think. This is too much. I understand, Ben said. But I need to know if you're going to report me. She looked at him for a long moment. You trusted me with the truth. I don't know why, but you did. So no, I won't report you. Not yet. But Ben, if your people fight back, many Valorans will die. If your father attacks, many humans will die. Ben countered. I don't want war, but I won't let my species be conquered because we seemed weak. Sir nodded slowly and left the archive without another word. Ben waited 10 minutes before leaving himself. He moved through the palace corridors with new urgency. Everything had changed. Sir knew the truth, or at least part of it. She could still betray him, but his instincts said she wouldn't. He reached the communications room reserved for the human embassy staff. Amy Chen, officially listed as a cultural liaison, sat at the encrypted terminal. About time, she said. I have updates from home. I have updates too, Ben said. Invasion timeline is 60 days. I found the deployment orders. Amy's fingers flew across the keyboard. Sending to Admiral Cross now. What else? Princess Sarah knows I'm intelligence, I told her. Amy spun around in her chair. You what? She found me in the archives. I made a judgment call. That's one hell of a judgment call, Ben. I know, but I think she's on our side. Or at least not on her father's side. Amy shook her head. Command is going to love this. Did you at least get the fleet positions? All of them. 3 battle groups staging in the outer reach sector. They'll jump to human space simultaneously. Classic hammer strategy, Amy muttered. Hit all major colonies at once. Force Earth to surrender to save civilians. Except Earth isn't going to surrender, Ben said. No, Amy agreed. A grim smile on her face. No, we're not. The next morning, Ben attended breakfast with Sierra as usual. She was quiet, picking at her food. Other nobles and courtiers filled the dining hall, making private conversation impossible. But when a servant accidentally dropped a crystal glass, Ben's hand shot out and caught it before it hit the floor. The movement was faster than any Valoran could achieve, smooth and precise. Several nobles noticed. Whispers began. Sarah met his eyes across the table. She had seen it too, and in that moment, Ben saw her decision reflected in her golden eyes. She knew what he was. She knew what was coming, and she had chosen her side. The countdown had begun. The glass incident at breakfast had planted seeds of suspicion. Lord Kale began watching Ben more closely, and additional guards appeared in the corridors near the human quarters. Ben felt the weight of observation everywhere he went. 2 weeks had passed since his conversation with Sierra in the archives. They maintained public appearances of a polite but distant marriage. But private moments had become different. She asked questions. He provided careful answers. Trust was growing slowly and cautiously. Tonight, Sir requested a private dinner in their chambers. No servants, no guards inside the room. When Ben arrived, he found her pacing nervously. "I need to understand," she said without greeting. "Tell me about Earth. The real Earth, not the sanitized reports in our databases." Ben poured himself water and sat down. "What do your reports say?" "Class M planet, 1.2, 2 gravity oxygen nitrogen atmosphere, 70% water coverage, classified as suitable for colonization." Sarah stopped pacing and looked at him. "But that's not the whole truth, is it?" "No," Ben admitted. "Those are just numbers. They don't tell you what it means to live there." "Then tell me." Ben thought about how to explain Earth to someone who had never experienced real danger. Imagine a world where the weather can kill you. Hurricanes with winds that tear apart buildings. Tornadoes that appear in minutes. Blizzards that freeze everything solid. Floods that swallow cities. "We have weather," Sarah said. "Not like ours. Your planet has stable climate zones. Earth's weather is violent and unpredictable. Our ancestors had to build shelters that could survive nature's fury. What else? Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that bury entire regions in ash. Tsunamis that destroy coastlines." Ben saw her expression changing as she absorbed this. "That's just the geology. Then there are the life forms, other animals, predators." Ben corrected species that evolved to hunt and kill. "On Earth, you're either predator or prey. Humans survived by becoming both. We learned to hunt animals larger and stronger than us. We learned to avoid animals faster and more deadly than us. We developed tools and intelligence because our bodies alone weren't enough." Sarah sat down slowly. "And the diseases, bacteria, and viruses that can kill in days. Our immune systems are constantly at war with microscopic invaders. Every human alive today is descended from people who survived plagues that killed millions. We carry that survival in our genes. This is why you're stronger." Sarah said, "Your gravity is twice ours. 1.2 times. Ben corrected. "But yes, every human child grows up pushing against more force than most galactic species ever experience. Our bones and muscles adapt. What seems like superhuman strength to you is just normal for us." "Show me," Sarah said suddenly. "Show me what you can really do." Ben hesitated. "That's dangerous. I need to see. I need to understand what my father is planning to attack." Ben stood up and moved to the center of the room. "Valoran combat training emphasizes grace and precision. Correct?" "Yes. Economy of movement. Minimal energy expenditure. Human combat is different. We call it controlled aggression." Ben's demeanor shifted. His relaxed posture became something else. Something coiled and ready. "Watch." He moved to Sir's eyes. Ben simply vanished from one position and appeared in another. He crossed the room in less than a second. His movement a blur. Then he demonstrated strikes against the air, each one accompanied by a sharp sound as his fist broke the sound barrier. He stopped suddenly, breathing only slightly elevated. "That's about 60% of my maximum speed. Full combat speed would be dangerous in a confined space." Sarah's hands gripped the arms of her chair. "That's not possible. Our physicists said human reflexes are only marginally faster than ours. Your physicists measured civilian humans doing reaction tests. They didn't measure combat-trained humans with adrenaline in their system." Ben walked back to his seat. "When humans are threatened, our bodies release chemicals that increase our strength, speed, and pain tolerance. It's called an adrenaline response. For a short time, we can perform far beyond our normal capabilities. All humans can do this, to varying degrees. Yes, I'm trained and enhanced. But any human in real danger becomes more dangerous themselves. It's evolution. Fight or flight response. Most species have flight, humans have fight. Sarah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. If my father attacks Earth, his fleets won't be fighting civilians, will they? No. Earth's military is fully trained and prepared, and we've had 15 years to study galactic technology and adapt it to human capabilities. How many would die on both sides? Thousands, maybe millions. War is never clean, Sarah. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Valoran moons. I was raised to believe the Empire brought civilization to the galaxy, that species like yours needed our guidance to reach their potential. And now I wonder if we're the ones who don't understand. We've never had to fight for survival. We've never had to adapt or die. We've been comfortable for so long that we think everyone else is weak. She turned back to him. My father will lose, won't he? I don't know, Ben said honestly. The Valorans have numbers and experience, but human military doctrine is based on something your people don't understand. What? We accept that some of us will die. We plan for acceptable losses. We train every soldier to keep fighting even when hope is gone. Because on Earth, giving up meant extinction. We learn to fight until the end, no matter the cost. Sarah's face went pale. That's horrifying. That's survival, Ben countered. I'm not proud of it, but I won't apologize for my species refusing to die quietly. A sudden alarm shattered the moment. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside. Ben's enhanced hearing picked up running feet and shouted commands. What's happening? Sarah asked. Ben moved to the door, listening. The door burst open. Lord Kale stood there with 6 guards, all armed. Step away from the Princess Human. What is this? Sir demanded. We found your spy equipment, Princess. Hidden communication devices in the embassy quarters. The human has been transmitting intelligence to his government. Kale's expression was triumphant. The treaty is void. All humans on Valoria Prime are under arrest. Ben's mind raced. They must have found Amy's communication setup. The timeline had just accelerated. This is a mistake, Sarah said firmly. I vouch for my husband. Your father has already issued the order. Princess, the human comes with us. Kale gestured to his guards. Take him. The guards moved forward. Ben calculated quickly. 6 armed Valorans. Narrow corridor. Sarah in potential crossfire. Not ideal, but he was out of options. I'm sorry, Sarah, he said quietly. I tried to avoid this. Then he moved. The first guard didn't even see the strike that disarmed him. Ben's hand was a blur, taking the weapon and reversing it in one smooth motion. The second guard received an elbow to the solar plexus that dropped him instantly. Kale raised his own weapon, but Ben was already there. He twisted the gun away and delivered a precise strike to Kale's wrist that made the noble cry out in pain. The remaining guards opened fire. Ben dove, rolled, and came up behind them. 3 quick strikes, perfectly placed. Not lethal, but incapacitating. The entire fight lasted less than 10 seconds. Ben stood among the fallen guards, breathing calmly. Kale stared at him in shock and fear. How? That's impossible. Nothing is impossible, Ben said. You just didn't understand what you were fighting. More guards appeared at the corridor entrance. Ben grabbed Sir's hand. We need to go now. Where? The human embassy. It's the only safe place left on this planet. They ran. Ben pulled Sarah along, his strength easily compensating for the speed difference between them. Behind them, alarms continued to blare. More guards joined the pursuit. Ben led them through sections of the palace he had mapped in his nighttime explorations. He avoided main corridors using servant passages and maintenance tunnels. His enhanced memory recalled every turn, every door, every security camera position. How do you know this place so well? Sir gasped as they ran. I told you. I pay attention. They emerged in a lower section of the palace near the diplomatic quarter. The human embassy was a quarter-mile away. Ben could see it, but the path was blocked by 24 Valoran soldiers. There's too many, Sarah said. Not for me, Ben replied. He turned to her. Stay behind me. Don't interfere no matter what you see. He ran toward the soldiers at full combat speed. To them, he appeared as a blur. His first strike disarmed 3 soldiers before they could fire. His second disabled 5 more. He moved like water, flowing around their attacks, his enhanced reflexes making their movements seem slow and predictable. One brave soldier managed to fire his weapon. The energy bolt caught Ben in the shoulder. Pain flared, but his body's redundant systems kicked in. He kept moving, kept fighting. Within 30 seconds, all 24 soldiers lay on the ground, unconscious or groaning in pain. Sir stared at the scene, her face a mixture of awe and horror. Ben's shoulder was bleeding, but he barely seemed to notice. "Let's go," he said. They ran the final distance to the embassy. The doors opened immediately, and human security pulled them inside. The moment they crossed the threshold, Earth territory, by galactic law, relative safety returned. Admiral Nathan Cross appeared on the embassy's main view screen, his face grim. "Agent Carter, report. Cover blown. Invasion timeline compromised. Request immediate extraction granted. Defense fleet is jumping to Valoria Prime orbit in 10 minutes. Hold your position." Ben turned to Sarah, who stood trembling in the middle of the embassy lobby. "I'm sorry. This isn't how I wanted things to end." "End?" she asked. "This is only the beginning. My father will see this as an act of war. Your father was already planning war. This just accelerated his timeline." Outside, they could hear Valoran troops surrounding the embassy, but they couldn't enter. Not without starting a galactic incident. Ben touched his wounded shoulder and looked at the blood on his hand. Then he looked at Sierra and saw something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. "You chose to run with me," he said quietly. "That means you're a traitor to your people now." "No," Sarah said firmly. "I chose truth over lies. My father is the traitor, betraying the peace we promised." On the view screen, Admiral Cross spoke again. "Carter, prepare for extraction, and be advised, Protocol Death World is now active. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten Earth." Ben nodded. The game had changed, the masks were off, and somewhere above Valoria Prime, human warships prepared to show the galaxy the power of the species from the Death World. The Earth Defense Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel above Valoria Prime with a thunderous ripple of displaced space. 12 warships, each one bristling with weapons the Valorans had never seen before, took up positions around the planet. Inside the embassy, Ben watched the tactical display with Sierra beside him. She stared at the screen, trying to understand what she was seeing. "Those ships are smaller than our battle cruisers," she said. "How can 12 ships challenge an entire planetary defense system?" "Size doesn't matter as much as you think," Ben replied. "Those ships were designed by a species that learned to overcome bigger, stronger opponents with intelligence and aggression." On the view screen, Admiral Nathan Cross addressed the Valoran government directly. His message was broadcast across every communication channel on the planet. "This is Admiral Cross of the Earth Defense Fleet. Emperor Theron, your military has surrounded our embassy and threatened our citizens. You have violated the treaty you signed. Stand down immediately, or face the consequences." Emperor Theron's response appeared moments later. His face showed rage and contempt. "You dare threaten the Valorian Empire with your tiny fleet. You are surrounded by 300 defense platforms and 2 full battle groups. Surrender now, and I may show mercy to your pathetic species." Admiral Cross smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. "Emperor, you've made a critical error. You assumed human technology development followed a predictable path. You were wrong. All ships demonstrate Protocol Death World. Phase 1. The human warships moved in perfect coordination. They accelerated to speeds that made Valoran sensors struggle to track them. The ships maneuvered with aggressive precision, spinning and rolling in patterns no Valoran ship could match. "Impossible," Sarah whispered. "No crew could survive those acceleration forces." "Human crews can," Ben said. "We train in high-gravity environments. Our pilots can handle forces that would kill most species. Every maneuver you're seeing would crush a Valoran pilot's internal organs. To us, it's just uncomfortable." The Valoran defense platforms opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, trying to target the fast-moving Earth ships. Every shot missed. The human vessels moved like predators, seeming to anticipate where the attacks would be before they were fired. "How?" Sarah asked. "Pattern recognition. Humans evolved to track fast-moving prey and avoid fast-moving predators. Our brains process movement and trajectory instinctively. Your defense systems follow logical firing solutions. Our ships know how to break those patterns." One Earth warship, the Defiant, broke from formation and accelerated toward a cluster of defense platforms. Sierra expected it to fire energy weapons. Instead, something different happened. "Kinetic strike incoming." Captain Ryan Foster's voice came over the embassy speakers. "Target Defense Platform Cluster 7. Impact in 3, 2, 1. A solid projectile accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed struck the defense platforms. The impact released energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. 3 platforms simply ceased to exist, torn apart by the sheer physics of the collision. Sir gasped, "You're using mass drivers? That's a weapon from the dark ages of spaceflight. Everything old is new again." Ben said energy shields can deflect energy weapons, but simple physics. A solid object moving fast enough will destroy anything in its path. We just made mass drivers better than anyone thought possible. The Valoran battle groups moved to intercept. Massive cruisers, each one 5 times the size of the Earth ships, advanced with confidence. Their commanders had fought hundreds of battles. They knew how to handle inferior forces, but they had never fought humans before. The Earth ships scattered, each one taking a different vector. The Valoran ships tried to follow, but their movements were slower, more cautious. They maneuvered like they were participating in a formal dance. The human ships moved like wolves hunting. Captain Foster's ship dove beneath a Valoran cruiser, so close that the shields nearly touched. Then it fired. Nuclear fusion missiles, dozens of them, slammed into the cruiser's weaker underside. The Valoran ship's shields held for 3 seconds before collapsing. The cruiser's hull breached, and emergency systems began shutting down sections to prevent total loss. "You're using nuclear weapons in ship-to-ship combat?" Sarah's voice was shaky. "That's insane. The radiation alone." "Human ships are shielded against radiation. We evolved on a planet bathed in cosmic rays and solar radiation. We know how to protect against it." Ben pointed to another part of the tactical display. "Watch this." 3 Earth ships coordinated their attack on a Valoran battleship. They came from different angles, simultaneously firing different weapons: kinetic strikes from above, missiles from the sides, and something new: energy beams that seemed to twist space itself. "What is that last weapon?" Sir asked. "Gravity manipulation. We took Valoran faster-than-light technology and weaponized it. Those beams create localized gravity wells that tear ships apart from the inside." The Valoran battleship's hull buckled and collapsed as the gravity weapon did its work. The ship broke in half, its crew evacuating in emergency pods. Inside the palace war room, Emperor Theron watched his forces being systematically dismantled. Commander Zeke stood beside him, his expression showing the shock that the Emperor refused to reveal. "How is this possible?" Theron demanded. "Our intelligence said human ships were inferior. Our intelligence was wrong." "Excellency," Zeke said quietly, "the humans have been hiding their true capabilities. Everything we thought we knew about them was deliberate deception. Then we use overwhelming numbers. Order all 3 invasion fleets to jump to this location. We'll crush them with sheer force." "Excellency, that will leave our other territories undefended. Do it in the Sol system. Earth's defense grid activated." General Lisa Hayes stood in the command center, watching as her forces prepared for the real battle. "Valoran fleet inbound," her tactical officer reported. 3 battle groups, approximately 200 ships total. Arrival in 60 seconds. "All ships, battle positions," Hayes ordered calmly. "Remember your training." These ships are bigger and more numerous, but their crews have never fought for survival. Show them what that means. The Valoran fleets emerged near Jupiter, their formation perfect and imposing. 200 warships, the pride of an empire that had never known defeat. They faced 40 Earth ships. The numbers seemed impossible. The Valorans should have won easily, but Earth's defenders had advantages. The Valorans couldn't comprehend. Every human pilot had trained in scenarios where they were outnumbered. Every human ship captain had studied historical battles, where smaller forces defeated larger ones, through tactics and determination. Every human soldier knew that retreat wasn't an option, because Earth itself was behind them. The battle began. Earth ships moved with controlled chaos. Refusing to form predictable patterns, they used the gravity wells of Jupiter and its moons to slingshot around obstacles and gain speed. They fired and moved, never staying in one position long enough to be targeted effectively. The Valoran forces tried to maintain formation discipline, but human tactics were designed to break formations. Missiles that split into multiple warheads, each one independently targeting. Kinetic strikes that forced ships to scatter. Gravity weapons that disrupted the precise positioning Valoran doctrine required. And when Valoran ships closed for what they thought would be easy kills, human crews proved something terrifying. They didn't avoid damage, they accepted it as part of combat. Earth ships took hits that would make other species retreat for repairs. Human damage control teams worked through radiation and fire, making repairs while still fighting. Injured crew members stayed at their stations until they physically couldn't continue. It was a level of determination that shocked the Valoran commanders. Dr. Alex Turner's voice came over the command frequency. General Hayes deploying the neural disruptors now. A dozen small drones launched from Earth ships. They looked insignificant, but they carried technology that would change the battle. The drones emitted a specific frequency, designed to interfere with Valoran neural patterns. It didn't harm them, but it caused confusion and disorientation. Valoran crews suddenly found themselves unable to focus, their coordinated movements falling apart. "That's biological warfare," Commander Zix shouted as his fleet's cohesion collapsed. "No," General Hayes responded over an open channel. "Biological warfare would kill you. This just makes you uncomfortable. There's a difference." The Valoran fleet began to retreat. Ships that moments before had advanced with confidence now fell back in disorder. Some captains tried to maintain the fight, but their crews were too disoriented to be effective. In 30 minutes, the battle was effectively over. The Valorans had lost 60 ships with dozens more damaged. Earth had lost 7 ships with 20 damaged, but still combat capable. The numbers shouldn't have worked, but they did. Back on Valoria Prime, Emperor Throne sat in stunned silence as reports came in. His 3 invasion fleets had been defeated, his planetary defenses were in ruins, and the human ships still orbited his world, like patient predators. Admiral Cross's message came through again. "Emperor Thoron, your forces have been neutralized. You have a choice. Surrender now and face galactic justice for treaty violations, or continue fighting and watch your empire crumble. Choose wisely." In the embassy, Ben turned to Sarah. "It's over." She looked at him with tears in her golden eyes. "My people, so many died. I'm sorry," Ben said, and meant it. "We didn't want this, but we couldn't let your father conquer us either." What happens now? Now the galaxy learns that underestimating humans is a fatal mistake, and maybe if we're lucky, they'll think twice before threatening us again. On screens across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Every species that had dismissed humanity as insignificant newcomers suddenly had to reassess everything they thought they knew. The species from Earth, the death world that had forged them in fire and struggle, had announced themselves to the galaxy, and the message was clear: threaten humanity at your own risk. 6 months had passed since the battle that changed the galaxy. The Galactic Council chambers on neutral Crush territory held representatives from 200 species, all gathered to witness something unprecedented. Ben Carter stood before the council, no longer wearing ceremonial robes, but a simple Earth diplomatic uniform. Beside him, Sarah wore clothes from both their worlds, a symbol of the bridge she had become between species. Emperor Theron was not present. He had abdicated 3 months ago. The shame of defeat and treaty violation too great to bear. His eldest son, Prince Darren, now ruled the Valorian Empire with a very different approach to galactic politics. Councillor Thra of the Kresh species called the session to order. The Kresh were ancient, wise, and most importantly, neutral. They had observed the human-Valoran conflict without taking sides. "This council convenes to address the events of the past months," Thra said, their voice resonating through translation devices. "The Valorian Empire violated a peace treaty with intent to conquer the human species. Humanity responded with force. The galaxy watched in shock as a young species defeated an ancient empire. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species looked at the human delegation with new respect, others with fear. A few with barely concealed hostility. The question before us," Thra continued, "is what happens next. Ambassador Kyle Rodriguez of Earth has requested to address this council." Kyle stood, his posture confident but not aggressive. He had been chosen carefully for this role. The former military, but also a trained diplomat, someone who understood both strength and restraint. "Honored counselors," Kyle began, "Earth did not seek conflict with the Valorian Empire. We entered peace negotiations in good faith. We offered friendship and cooperation. In return, we were marked for conquest." He activated a holographic display showing the evidence Ben had gathered. Invasion plans, fleet deployments, communications between Valoran military commanders discussing the occupation of human worlds. We could have remained silent. We could have waited for the attack and fought it off. But Earth chose a different path. We sent Agent Carter to gather intelligence, not to sabotage the treaty. We hoped the evidence of peace would prove stronger than plans for war. We were wrong. Kyle paused, letting his words settle. When the Valorian Empire moved against us, we defended ourselves. We used every advantage our evolution gave us. Yes, we are stronger than most species. Yes, we are more aggressive. But we did not choose those traits. Earth chose them for us. Through millions of years of survival, a representative from the Terran species stood. They were tall and crystalline, beautiful and fragile. You speak of evolution as if it justifies violence. Many species here evolved in peace. Should we fear you because you evolved in war? No, Kyle said firmly. You should understand us. Every human carries the knowledge that life is precious because it can be lost. We value peace because we know the cost of conflict. We are strong because weakness meant extinction. But strength without wisdom is just brutality. Earth offers both. He gestured to Ben and Sarah. These two represent what we hope for. A human and a Valoran. Married in politics but staying together by choice. They show that different species can understand each other, can work together despite different origins. Sarah stepped forward, surprising many in the chamber. She had no official status here, having broken from her father's empire. I was raised to believe my people were superior, she said quietly. I was taught that species like humanity needed our guidance. I learned I was wrong, and the lesson was painful. My people lost ships and lives because we underestimated humans, but we lost something more important first. We lost humility. She looked around the chamber. The Valorian Empire spent 10,000 years believing we were the peak of civilization. We stopped questioning ourselves. We stopped learning. When humanity appeared with technology, they shouldn't have developed so quickly. We didn't ask how. We just assumed they were lucky. That arrogance nearly destroyed us. Prince Darren's representative stood. Princess Sir speaks truth. The new Valorian government acknowledges the crimes of the previous administration. We offer formal apology to Earth, and to this council, for our betrayal of galactic law. Apologies are noted, Thra said, but apologies don't address the larger question. Humanity has proven formidable in combat. Some council members fear what this means for galactic stability. If humans can defeat the Valorian Empire, what prevents them from conquering others? Our values. Ben spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, but carried authority. I'm not a diplomat, or an ambassador. I'm a soldier. I was trained to fight and kill if necessary. But I was also taught why we fight. Earth doesn't fight for conquest. We fight for survival and freedom. Those are not the same thing. He walked to the center of the chamber. Every species here should know this about humans. We remember. We remember every war we fought among ourselves. We remember the cost of empire and oppression. Our own history taught us that conquering others creates nothing but suffering. We learned that lesson with our own blood. Dr. Sophie Martinez, Earth's terraforming expert, stood next. Earth requests a seat on the Galactic Security Council. Not to dominate, we have experience with hostile environments, with survival against impossible odds, with adapting to new situations. These skills can benefit all species. You want power, someone accused from the back of the chamber. We want partnership, Sophie corrected. Earth has resources and knowledge to share. We've survived conditions that would kill most species. That experience has value, but we're not interested in ruling others. We have enough trouble governing ourselves. That brought scattered laughter from the chamber, easing some of the tension. Councillor Thra consulted with other council elders. After several minutes of quiet discussion, they addressed the chamber again. The council has reviewed the evidence and heard testimony from all parties. We make the following rulings. First, the Valorian Empire is found guilty of treaty violation and planning unprovoked aggression. They will pay reparations to Earth and face restrictions on military expansion for 10 years. Second, Earth's response is deemed appropriate self-defense under galactic law. Third, Earth is granted a seat on the Galactic Security Council. Effective immediately, the chamber erupted in discussion. Some species applauded, others protested, but the decision was made. However, Thra continued, silencing the room, Earth must also accept responsibility. Your combat capabilities were deliberately hidden during first contact protocols. This deception, while legal, has created fear among other species. Earth must be transparent about your abilities going forward. Kyle nodded. Earth accepts this condition. We will provide full documentation of human physical capabilities and military capacity to all council members. Transparency builds trust. The session concluded with formal agreements being drafted. As the chamber emptied, various species approached the Earth delegation. Some offered congratulations. Others asked questions about potential trade agreements or cultural exchanges. A few species, notably the peaceful Miran and the scientific Quellin, specifically sought partnerships with Earth. They saw humanity's unique perspective as valuable rather than threatening. Later that evening, Ben and Sir stood on a balcony overlooking the Kresh capital. The city glowed with bioluminescent architecture, beautiful and unlike anything on Earth or Valoria Prime. "What happens to us now?" Sir asked. "I can't return to my homeworld. I'm seen as a traitor there." "You're not a traitor. You chose truth over lies," Ben said. He took her hand. "And you're welcome on Earth. My mother has already offered you a position in the diplomatic corps. Your knowledge of Valoran culture and your courage in standing against your father make you valuable. Will I always be seen as the princess who betrayed her people? Some will see you that way. Others will see you as the princess who chose peace over pride. History will judge, but I know which side I'm on." Sir leaned against him, finding comfort in his solid presence. "Your world terrifies me. The gravity, the weather, the dangerous animals. How do you live there without constant fear?" "The same way you live anywhere. You adapt, you learn, you find beauty in the struggle." Ben smiled. "And you're stronger than you think. You survived the truth about your father and your empire. You survived choosing me over your own people." "Earth's challenges are physical. You've already faced harder emotional challenges." "Tell me about it," Sarah said. "About Earth. The real Earth. Not the statistics." Ben thought about his home. "There's a place called the Grand Canyon, a massive gorge carved by water over millions of years. Standing at the edge makes you feel tiny. It reminds you that Earth has been here much longer than humanity, and will be here long after we're gone. That keeps us humble." "Tell me more." "There are oceans so deep we still haven't explored all of them. Mountains so tall they pierce the clouds. Forests where trees have lived for thousands of years. Deserts where nothing grows, but life still finds a way. Earth is beautiful and terrible and amazing. It made us what we are." "I want to see it," Sarah said. "I want to understand where you come from. Then we'll go together." Then paused. The council session went better than expected. Most species are willing to give Earth a chance, because they're afraid of you. Maybe at first. But fear can become respect if we prove ourselves trustworthy. That's the real test now. Not winning a war, but winning the peace. 3 months later, Ben and Srath arrived on Earth. Sira experienced her first sunset over an ocean, felt the weight of 1.22 gravity pulling at her, and tasted rain for the first time. Everything was harder, heavier, and more intense than her homeworld. But she also saw why humans were the way they were. She watched a hurricane from safety and understood why they built strong. She saw mountains and understood why they climbed higher. She felt Earth's pull and understood why they pushed harder. Kate Morrison welcomed them to Earth's diplomatic headquarters in New York. The city amazed Sarah with its vertical growth and constant motion. "This is humanity," Kate said, gesturing to the crowded streets. "Millions of people, all different, all trying to survive and thrive together. We don't always succeed. We argue and compete, and sometimes fight, but we keep trying to build something better. It's chaotic," Sira observed. "Yes, but in that chaos is creativity and innovation. Controlled chaos. Like your husband demonstrated in combat, we use our nature rather than fight against it." The Earth delegation to the Galactic Council grew to include representatives from all continents and cultures. They didn't present a unified human culture, because no such thing existed. Instead, they showed diversity, debate, and the strength that came from many perspectives. Other species began to understand that humanity's power came not just from physical abilities, but from their approach to problems. Humans tried things other species considered impossible. They combined technology in unexpected ways. They borrowed ideas from everyone and adapted them to new purposes. Within a year, human-designed hybrid ships combined Valoran efficiency with human resilience. Human doctors worked with Krush biologists to develop treatments for diseases affecting multiple species. Human engineers collaborated with Quellin scientists on terraforming projects. The galaxy discovered that the species from the Death World had much to offer beyond military might. Ben and Sarah became symbols of the new era. They traveled to different worlds. Speaking about cooperation and understanding, they had children eventually. The first human Valoran hybrids who carried traits from both species. On the 5th anniversary of the battle at Valoria Prime, a memorial was erected on both Earth and Valoria Prime. It honored the dead from both sides and carried a simple message in multiple languages. From conflict comes understanding. From understanding comes peace. From peace comes prosperity. May we remember the cost and honor the sacrifice. Ben stood before the Earth Memorial, with Sarah beside him. Their children played nearby, adapted to Earth's gravity, but carrying their mother's golden eyes. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asked. Everything that happened? Ben considered the question carefully. I regret the deaths. I regret the pain and fear. But I don't regret the outcome. The galaxy knows humanity now, not as weak newcomers but as equals. That was worth the cost. And us. Do you regret marrying me? Ben pulled her close, smiling. That's the one part I don't regret at all. You were supposed to be a political arrangement. You became the best decision I ever made. They watched the sunset together. A human and a Valoran, bound by choices made in crisis and strengthened by time. Around them, Earth continued its rotation. The death world that had forged a species capable of both terrible violence and profound compassion. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate the power of those who refuse to give up. Never dismiss the species that learned to thrive where others would die. And never forget that strength, tempered by wisdom, is the truest power of all. In the end, humanity's greatest achievement wasn't defeating the Valorian Empire. It was proving that being strong didn't require being cruel, and that the survivors of a death world could choose peace without surrendering their ability to fight. That was the power no alien could imagine. The power to be both warrior and peacemaker, to be both predator and protector, to be strong enough to fight, but wise enough to choose another path. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, and the galaxy slowly but surely learned to accept